Unfortunately, people are completely accepting of all of the suffering which life causes. So if somebody gives birth and somebody ends up in a terrible life, then that's acceptable and we shouldn't try and put a stop to it. If animals are forced into bad lives where they're abused by their owners or they're eaten alive in nature, if any life is forced into a bad life, then people think it's acceptable, whereas they think murder is wrong, but that we shouldn't make it impossible, right? So essentially, for the sake of having a civilization and a society and some happy lives, people are totally fine with all of the suffering and the bad lives, the terrible lives, the horrifically, extremely, shockingly awful and tragic lives that these individuals should not be forced into, whether it's people or animals. So that's why the pro-extinction movement has begun 4 years ago, and we're growing globally every day to working to achieve total extinction, so that there is no suffering and no bad lives ever again for all life, animals, people, and working towards a universe with no life and no possibility of life ever again, as this is the only responsible thing to do, the only ethical thing to do to prevent suffering. And people will say that no, life has to exist, but no, it doesn't. It's just causing harm, and it's just evolution and nature which is tricking you into thinking that life has to exist no matter how much harm it causes. The reality is that it's not right for life to exist, and it's not right to allow it to exist either. We have a moral obligation to the victims to prevent their suffering and to prevent them from being forced to exist in unsafe conditions and potential and certainty for many of lives of pure hell, pure suffering. It's not safe or right or fair for life to exist. So we have to work towards the maximum prevention, the maximum safety that we can provide for life. We shouldn't allow it to exist and be forced to exist and suffer in unsafe conditions. Life should only exist when there's certainty of safety, and that's actually physically impossible to provide. So the rational, the ethical thing to do is to work together to put an end to all of the suffering that animals in nature, in exploitation, and humans, all life is going through, and potentially alien life as well. So join us at the Pro-Extinction Movement, do peaceful activism to grow the movement with us, stand up against suffering, stand up against life being forced into lives of pure suffering, and join the Pro-Extinction Movement. Help us grow the movement, make total extinction possible, make the end of all suffering possible. Join our Discord, join our WhatsApp groups, and check out the website proextinction.com. Read the manifesto, educate yourself on the ethics of how we shouldn't allow suffering. We go into all of the details on it. Check out our FAQ, learn about how veganism and antinatalism and all of these things relate to the new and more important and ultimate ideology of extinctionism, which is the total prohibition of suffering and cruelty and bad lives. It's the abolition of extreme suffering and being forced into a bad life. Life doesn't deserve that, and this will continue to happen unless we stop it and provide safety from being forced into a bad life and into suffering. Join us at proextinction.com. Join us today.